James, kick us off.
Hi Steve, you have a new captain in Jamie George. Why him?
Yes. Firstly, I think he's an outstanding player. And that's, I think everybody can see that. One of the best set-piece hookers in the world and incredible work rate. Leads a great example in that sense. I think, secondly, I think he's got a fantastic understanding of the game. Tactically, I think he's very astute. And thirdly, I think he's brilliant with people, relationships, and I think everybody in the room would acknowledge that. I think Jamie's has a great vibrancy and energy about him, and I think he builds great relationships with people.
He's also signed a 2-year contract extension with Saracens, resisted the lure of France. How pleased are you with that news as well? A sign perhaps that the hybrid contracts are keeping players here.
I think it's a real positive step, and I think it's a real good sign again that I think English rugby is potentially, while still somewhere to go, it's potentially turned a corner. I think we're all seeing that in terms of the positive nature of English rugby in what we've seen so far this season. And I think to have the captain of England commit his future to English rugby, I think it's an important step.
7 uncapped players in this squad. One is Emmanuel Feo-Wabosso, who also is eligible for Wales, or was, or still is potentially, Cardiff born. What made you speak to him and try and persuade him to play for England? How did those talks go? How early did they start? Yeah,
so Manny and I spoke some weeks ago, and I've been in regular contact with him, and in particular with Rob Baxter as well, who's been excellent. And I think Manny's really impressed us, not just on the pitch. I think we can all see the power that he brings, the speed that he brings, how he finds a way through contact when there doesn't appear to be a way through there. But he's a real mature guy in the sense of what he's done, starting his studies, his medicine studies up in and playing for Wasps, then to have gone through what Wasps went through, to then move down to Exeter, restart from a rugby perspective and restart from a studies perspective. Really a real sense of maturity with him. A young man, but really excited about this step.
Did he have to take much persuading to?
No. No. And when I rang him yesterday, and I spoke to him yesterday evening, and so what are you doing? And he said, I'm just finished my university studies for the day, just wrapped up, and I said, I'm announcing the Six Nations squad tomorrow, and I'll be naming you within it. I could sense that excitement and buzz down the phone from him. He was thrilled, and that gave me a real energy and a real buzz as well.
It's got a new feel to this team. To what extent, as we start a new World Cup cycle, does this team start to evolve during the Six Nations in particular?
Well, I think we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. The need to evolve is constant. The need to move forward is constantly there. I think there's also an understanding of ensuring that the foundations are strong, and that's going to be important. I think we made some progress last year in building those strong foundations, and I think when you look at approximately half of the players involved in the Rugby World Cup squad are involved in this squad, we've got a good level of experience, a mix of those really experienced guys. The likes of Jamie and Ellis and Joe Marler, and then we've got people like Manny, who are new to this environment. I think it's a great mix, and I know from my point of view as a coach, I'm really excited about bringing this mix of players together.
No Carl Sinkler or Billy Vunipola. Can you just explain their absences, please?
Yeah, so I've spoken to both players regularly and spoken about what I'd like to see them develop in their games to be in the squad. I think you see his competition for places, and I think that's really important. You know, I'm sure. I mean, if you look at tight head there, you see Will Stewart. I think has been playing well for Bath. I think you see Joe Hayes. Everyone's seen a development in his game, particularly this year, and Dan Cole. I've kept that level of experience. You see you've got a player, extremely experienced player like Dan Cole, and then one who's played a few caps like Joe Hayes. So it's a position where we've got that cross section. I think it's important to recognise the impact of Dan Cole. When we were sat here in January 23, England's scrum was ranked 10th in the world, and it's now ranked a good number of places higher than that. I think Dan Cole's influence there has been significant, and I think it's important that he's around the squad. Do I think Carl Sinkler will be back in the squad at some point in the future? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he will be. I'm sure I get a sense of determination from him to go after the aspects we discussed.
And Henry Slade and Alex Donbrandt are back in, obviously having missed the World Cup. What was it that made you bring them back now?
Oh, they played well. They played well. I know it's obvious to say, but you look at Slade in particular. He's been a match winner for Exeter this season. The incredible disappointment of not being selected in the World Cup, and what's he done? He's gone back to his club and he's been tremendous. I think it's 3 or 4 times he's hit the match-winning kick, match-winning interception. He's been the guy clearly that they've turned to, and all that young team that's been developing at Exeter under Rob. You see them looking to him, and he's been magnificent. I think Domers, again, a player who featured last Six Nations, who was in the squad prior to the World Cup. Disappointed to miss out, but I see a player who's gone and played well this season.
Steve, have you spoken to Owen Farrell since he started talking with Racing? And are you hoping that he stays at Saracens, so he becomes available, continues to be available in the future beyond the Six Nations?
Yeah, I spoke with Owen. I spoke with Owen yesterday, and I think what's important here is that Owen makes a decision that's right for Owen and his family, and that's will a player of Owen's calibre be missed if he chooses to play outside England? Yeah, of course. Do I want him at some point in the future to come back? Yes. Ultimately, I want him to do what's right for him and his family, and have the experiences and the memories that he wants to make.
And when Owen decided to miss the Six Nations, was Jamie George the first kind of candidate that you thought of for the captaincy, or was it a longer process, lots of names coming into the hat, etc.?
I think there's a good number of names, and I think you look at it. One thing that struck me was in the past it's been talked about England not necessarily having leaders. When I look at it and that experience I've had over this last 12 months, and seeing under Owen's captaincy and seeing all the other leaders thriving. This is a group that brought themselves together. We just give them the room to do so. And Jamie George, Ellis Genge, who's just an incredible influence around the squad, Maro Itoje, Joe Marler, Danny Kerr, the list could go on, Slade, the list could go on. I think we've got some real good candidates for this. And I think Jamie's the outstanding one for this team right now.
And Steve, when you took over, you said that every game would be important and you wouldn't be looking in necessarily 4 years ahead. England's Six Nations performances over the last 3 years have been poor in terms of numbers of wins. What message can you give to the fans ahead of this tournament that this is a tournament that you're absolutely taking seriously?
Yeah, I think they're right. It's a great point you make. In fact, the last 6 years we've won 50% of the games in the Six Nations, and that's a performance level we need to improve. It's a really competitive competition, excuse me, and it's something we're determined to improve. And as I say, I think we've built some foundations over this last period of time, and what we need to do is build and grow upon them.
Hi Steve, no Alfie Barber. Is that at all related to his disciplinary hearing today, or if not, what more maybe do you need to see from him to earn inclusion?
So I rate Alfie very highly, and he knows that I've said that to him. We met a good few weeks ago went to this nice health food cafe in Bath, and we had a good chat then. I met with him last week, spoke to him yesterday, been in regular contact. It's a competitive position, and I think he's done really well. The disciplinary factor hearing tonight, is that a factor? Yes, there's no doubt about it. I want the squad to have certainty about what we do going forward. Do I think he's going to feature in the England team in the near future? Yes. Obviously, he's got the disciplinary hearing tonight to deal with, but I think he's going to be if he continues to go the way he goes, I think he'll be a big part of English rugby. I was recalling coaching Leicester at the time, and we were playing against Wasps, and I think it was the game where we were going for to equal or to get the record for consecutive wins, and we lost that day. And Alfie's performance in the second half of that game was incredible. I remember being sat there watching it and thinking, this guy, he's not in the England squad now, but he will be. He will be an England player, a regular England player. He's had some injury setbacks, and I think it's testing his character, the way he is playing now.
On a similar theme, how impressed have you been with the resilience of those guys who had to change clubs, who suffered that loss? You've got a couple more in, Chandler Cunningham himself, Finn Smith still uncapped. Is there something you've seen from them coming out of that horrible situation that makes them possible candidates for test selection?
I think for everybody from players, coaching teams, all the staff at those clubs, all of them have had to endure and go through a really tough situation that we never want repeated. I think from the players, so many of them have been really impressed by what they've done, had to go through, that have been at many of them their boyhood clubs, only been at those clubs their whole lives, known those clubs, and have had to step out of that and start again. And I sense that in what has undoubtedly been incredibly tough time, incredibly challenging time, I sense the strength that's grown within a lot of those players. And the ones you mentioned, incredibly talented rugby players. And it's from an English rugby point of view, to see these youngsters start to come through now, I think and see them thriving in the competition this year, I think that's been excellent.
Okay, thanks very much. Downstairs.
Thank you.